a lot of the time, like I go back to the same things. It's about knowing your audience. It's about you doing a good hook. It's about structure. It's about payoffs. But one thing that is really interesting and something that has impacted my ability to understand retention graphs negatively in the past is something that a lot of people overlook. I realized I just did that like a YouTube hook as well. Just watch back the last 10 seconds of what I said. That's a hook. And it often comes down to not viewing the retention graph in its entirety, because a lot of the time it's really easy to kind of to look at the individual spikes and individual moments where maybe it's kind of dipping for a little bit of time, and just to look at that segment and try and isolate a problem in that segment. One problem that this gives is that it doesn't allow for the idea that your viewers might have seen something in the earlier stage of the video which is affecting their behavior at a later stage of the video. So a lot of the time this can come down to payoffs. So there's a video that I worked on where we noticed that one of the stronger segments of the video, as far as we could tell, one of the most entertaining, like it was edited really well. There was a lot of really good progression. It was exciting. There were emotional moments, was still seeing the biggest dip in, or like a gradual and consistent dip of people during that segment. And we were trying to figure out why that would be. And then I like went back, watched the first half of the video, and realized that the segment that had come immediately before that, we'd set something up at the start of that segment, and we'd spent like five minutes maybe kind of building up to the conclusion of that segment. And then the payoff had been really, really limp and really weak, and hadn't made me feel good watching it back, even as someone who worked on it. And so the problem then is that even though the next segment might be amazing, you've damaged the trust with your audience in that previous bit. Like, that's a really dramatic way of thinking of it. But essentially, if I'm a viewer getting onto this next segment of the video, I'm thinking, the last 5 minutes of my time kind of feel a bit wasted. And is this something that I want to commit to again? It kind of becomes like a toxic relationship where you're like, okay, maybe I'll try one more segment and then see whether or not things get better. But for a lot of people, that is the trust damaged, and that's already, you know, enough for them to think, okay, I'm gonna get out of here. And so that's why I think that's something that I always think about, is if I'm trying to figure out why a segment is not performing well or it's doing something, it's always looking at the video in context and thinking, has something else happened that could be prompting this problem that I'm having? So like, again, it's a slightly like a broader scale answer. It's not one specific thing that damages retention, but it's like having that awareness is so critical to reviewing retention graphs in my experience.